Hello, I'm Larry Pond, and today we're going to talk about energy efficient homes as updated by the Inflation Reduction Act. So let's get started. So I'm Larry Pond. I'm a CPA, a personal financial specialist, a certified financial planner, and an enrolled agent here in Redwood Shores, California. Been doing this for the last 36 years, and I really enjoy talking about taxes. So let's get started here. So the Inflation Reduction Act was signed by President Biden on August 16th, 2022. So that's when it became law. It's over 700 pages of legislation. It was passed by the Senate 51-50 in August, and it passed the House of Representatives 220-207. So that's how it's been going here. So this very large piece of legislation includes some tax increases, some additional funding to the IRS, lots of provisions regarding energy and climate change, and some changes to Medicare. Well, today we're only going to focus on the energy efficient homes component of that legislation. So let's talk about the energy efficient home improvement credit. So the old law was known as the non-business energy property credit. That was the old law. And that expired on December 31st, 2021. And the previous credit was limited to a $500 lifetime credit. So once you got your $500 credit, you can't get any more. And that was basically it for the non-business energy property credits. Well, with this new legislation, it's renewed it under the old law for 2022. So for 2022, it's back to the $500 lifetime credit. So if you haven't taken any of these energy credits previously, and you do buy appropriate items, then you get it for 2022. However, the big change is starting in 2023. It's going to be a $1,200 annual credit. So every year you get up to $1,200 instead of this $500 lifetime credit. So you might want to think about holding off on buying any energy improvements to your home until next year. Now with this law, this is going to run until December 31st of 2032. And another big change in the credit is that it's been increased from a 10% credit to a 30% credit. And there's an annual limit per item of $600. So $600 per item. And then you have to look at the different components here. So for the exterior windows and skylights, that's now $600. Under the old law, it was $200. So it's a $600 limit for windows and skylights. For exterior doors, and that includes garage doors, as long as they meet certain installation standards, it goes to $250 each, up to a maximum of $500. So I don't know if it's practical to plan on having a certain number of windows done this year, a certain number of windows done next year, or whatever, to take full advantage of this credit. So when it comes to home improvement, not only do you do home improvement planning, you need to do tax planning along with the home improvement plan to take the maximum benefit of this credit. So the qualified expenses include energy efficient windows. So those tend to be double pane windows. Energy efficient doors, also garage doors. So those tend to be the insulated garage doors with an R factor. Certain HVAC systems, your heating and air conditioning systems, heat pumps, biomass stoves, and insulation, any air sealing materials or systems. So those are the qualified expenses. And it also includes a natural gas heat pump, a natural gas propane or oil furnace or hot water boiler, biomass stove or boiler, improvements or replacement of qualified panel board, sub-panel board, branch circuit, or feeders. Now what's changed now is that it also includes labor costs. So labor costs are part of these expenses to figure out the credit. And at 30%, that's a pretty good deal. Under the old law, it was only based on the items you purchased. So now it can include labor because a lot of this includes expenses to get them installed. You need an electrician, a plumber, a professional, right? A lot of these things I probably wouldn't recommend do it yourself because there's safety issues. Now, the items you're buying must meet Energy Department, Energy Star, or International Energy Conservation Code standards. So the Department of Energy website is going to have a lot of information about this. So here's some more detail about these credits here. The $600 per year for air conditioners, water heaters, boilers, windows, and skylights. $250 for exterior doors, but you have more than one, up to $500. $150 for a home energy audit. So you can hire a consultant or a company to take a look at your house. Sometimes they'll do an infrared picture of your house to see where you're leaking heat or where you need to improve your insulation, or maybe you have some bad windows you need to replace. $150 for a home energy audit, which I find kind of interesting because I think locally here, we can get one of those from our utility at no charge. They come to your house, they have their clipboard with them, they look around, they check your water heater, your furnace, and your appliances, and give you suggestions. Now, above this $1,200 limit, there's a $2,000 limit if you get a heat pump, water heater, biomass stoves, or boilers. You got to do some planning when it comes to this because a lot of our taxpayers are driven by these tax credits. But if you find out the heat pump water heater, if you notice, they cost like 3 times the cost of a traditional water heater. So, yes, I'm getting a tax credit, but is it really worth that expense? And so you need to do some analysis, see what the expense is up front, how much energy it's going to need, and how much tax savings you get from the credit. So there's some calculations that need to be done with these home improvement credits. So if you think about it, to get the maximum $1,200, that means $4,000 times 30%. That's how to get to the $1,200 credit within those item limitations. Now, if you spend more than that, there's no carryover of the unused credit. So again, you might need to do some home improvement planning to stage your improvements so you can take the maximum use of this credit. We've got this until 2032. Now, what the other change the Inflation Reduction Act did was that it expanded to the homes it qualifies for. It's not just your principal residence. Now you can include your second home if you have one, or a vacation home. So it doesn't have to be just your principal residence. The current form is Form 5695, Residential Energy Credits. It will be updated. So if you look at the form now, it's for 2021 and 2022. It's going to be updated. The instructions will need to be updated. In 2025, you're going to need to include product identification numbers for these items. We probably don't have those numbers now. So that's why that portion of the law doesn't kick in until 2025. It's going to give the manufacturers time to produce these identification numbers. I think they'll need to register with the Department of Energy. It's just like the cars, right? You have to enter the VIN number of the car to get the credit for your electric vehicle because you don't want more than one person claiming the credits on the same vehicle. So same thing here. You can't be buying the appliance and share it with all your friends and family. Now, there's another credit called the Energy Efficient Home Credit. It's called the New Energy Efficient Home Credit, and EEHC. It's available to eligible contractors for qualified new energy efficient homes. And therefore, homes that satisfy certain specified energy savings requirements. And it's been extended to December 31st of 2032. And the credit could be $500, $1,000, $2,500, or up to $5,000, depending on which energy requirements the home satisfies and whether the construction of the home meets prevailing wage requirements. So that's new. So you have to meet prevailing wage requirements. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to use union labor, but you have to have prevailing wages. And so some contractors have more than one company, right? They have one company that is unionized for purposes of getting certain contracts, and they might have a non-unionized business, or they have certain contractors to them who are non-unionized. So you don't have to be unionized, just be paying prevailing wages. And part of that also means including apprenticeship programs. apprenticeship programs. So a lot more details to that. Form 8908, Energy Efficient Home Credit. The current instructions don't have any information on this yet. The 2022 will not have information about this yet, but it'll be in the 2023 instructions. So we'll see if the IRS gives us more guidance on these specific details. Okay, so not just the home appliances, there's also the clean energy credit. So the former name of this credit was the Residential Energy Efficient Property Credit. Now these are for solar panels, solar water heaters, fuel cells, windmills, biomass, and geothermal energy. And so this is a credit that's been retroactively extended from 2022 to 2034. It's a 30% credit. So before the passage of this law, it was 26%. So for 2021 and 2022, it was 26%. So if you're lucky enough to put in solar panels this year, instead of getting a 26% tax credit, you're getting a 30% tax credit. And starting in 2023, this credit also includes energy storage, basically a battery system for your house. And I know many people who have acquired battery storages for the house because of blackouts and power outages and those sorts of things. Now, the big change here is that the power does not need to be supplied by solar or wind. It's not part of the system that you're installing. The previous law, you could include the batteries as long as they were connected to the solar panels, they're part of solar panels. Well, not every house is a good candidate for solar power, and not every house, of course, is not good candidates for wind power or geothermal. And those are quite interesting when you see people do them. But you have to see if it works in your situation. So backup power now qualifies. This also includes biogas property and microgrid controllers. So that's starting next year. So it's a full 30% for expenditures through the end of 2032. There's no limit on how much you spend. There's no dollar limit. But you just got to be careful. You got to see what your electrical usage is, what's your average kilowatt usage, and buy the appropriate system. Because I've seen clients spend a lot of money, and they're very happy to get these big tax credit. But I said, you overpaid. The salesman sold way too much to you. I see people buy way more solar panels than they need, and unless they really are hogging up a lot of electricity. And so don't be driven by just the tax credit. See what works for you. And there's going to be some controversies going forward. We don't know what's happening with net metering and all those kind of considerations, because if you overbuy, it probably won't help you as much. Now, in some cases, does a battery backup system work for you? Maybe you can take yourself off the grid, have the solar panels charge up your battery, and then in the evening when the sun goes down, draw off the battery and then recharge it again the next day. We'll have to do the math. You have to do the math to see what's the appropriate amount for you and how much those batteries cost, because I think they're still quite expensive. So it's 30% through 2032, then 2033 drops to 26%, and 2034, 22%. So it's not just solar, it's called clean energy. So that includes fuel cell property. And we've seen some vendors with those, and those are still quite expensive. So if they get more prevalent and we can figure out how to make them cheaper, I think that's a consideration. Qualified small wind energy property. And you've seen those little windmills in the back of people's backyards. They look like ornaments, right? They kind of spin, and I don't know if it generates sufficient power or not. Geothermal heat pump property. So I've got some clients that dig a hole very, very deep. Now, there could be some city concerns. So before you start digging holes in your backyard, you might want to check with your city and county and even the state to see what kind of permits you need and all those sorts of things, because you just don't want to start digging down, because what if you hit a pipeline, or there could be some stuff underneath your house that you don't know about. So be very careful. I mean, water tables, and it's very complicated. So you definitely want to hire the appropriate engineers to see if it makes sense for you. Biomass stock and water heater property. So currently, no adjusted gross income limits. So if you have high income, doesn't matter. There's no limitation. There's no cost limits. But of course, we're financial people too. We want to make sure you spend appropriately. Don't just go after the tax credit. That's a big mistake people make. All they see is the tax credit. I've seen people with some very large tax credits. Well, how did you get that large tax credit? It's not free, right? You have to pay for it to get a 30% credit. And if you're buying far more electricity you can use, I'm not sure if that's beneficial to you. You got to see the cost makes sense. There's the qualified refueling property credit. And the original credit expired at the end of 2021, but now it's been retroactively extended to 2032. And that's an electric car charging station. You hire an electrician to get those installed in your house, because most people, our power plugs are 120 volts. So this could be a 240 volt charger, so your car gets charged faster. But it's not just for electric cars, it's also for natural gas. So if you want to put a natural gas outlet, if your car is powered by natural gas, this credit applies to that. So for individuals, it's a 30% credit. Now for business, it's a 6% credit. And the maximum amount of business can claim is $100,000. It was a $30,000 credit. So if you have a business, like you own a large apartment complex, that might make some sense. You get a 6% credit for installing a charging station. You can check with the vendors on their programs and how much they cost. And most of the time, each charger has 2 plugs on it. So that's 1 parking space. And you can set the price, you can set the terms. And I've run some numbers for clients where how much money you can make on installing a couple of these charging stations at your business. If you own a shopping center or a mall or something, you can designate a couple of spaces for this, and you can make some money. And you can put time limits on it too. So if you park your car there too long, it can get kind of expensive. So you can set those terms. It's all up to you. So that's on Form 8911, Alternative Fuel Vehicle Refueling Property Credit. So don't overlook this credit. This could be worth quite a bit. I noticed the electric car charging stations aren't that expensive. So it's not that expensive, but it includes the cost of the actual unit plus the labor costs, because we need an electrician to do it, not a do-it-yourself project. Now we're going to close out with home energy rebates. So the difference between a rebate and a credit is something you apply for on your tax return. You have to file forms, keep the backup information in your files. Don't just make up numbers, but make sure you have the receipts and the invoices for what you're buying. Now, on top of this, there's home energy rebates. Now, these are going to be administered by the states. The state's going to administer it. The state's going to have to apply for the grants. And they're the ones who are going to set up the benefits based on income levels and energy savings. So for the rebate program, that includes energy retrofits, insulation, HVAC installations. It could be up to 50% to $1 cap. If consumers who cut energy usage by 20% could get a maximum rebate of $2,000 or half the cost of a retrofit, whichever is less. Dollar threshold rise to $4,000 who cut their energy usage by 35%. Rebates can double for lower income households, and that's defined as income that's 80% or less of an area's median income to apply. And I think those are going to be set by the counties. It's on a county by county basis. Again, these programs are run by the states. The states are going to have some flexibility on how to run it. High efficiency electric home rebate program. So energy efficient appliances, up to $1,750 for a heat pump water heater, up to $8,000 for a heat pump for space heating or cooling, up to $840 for an electric stove or electric heat pump clothes dryer. So I'm noticing that some cities are banning natural gas in homes. So your stove is no longer natural gas; it's electric. Your water heater is electric. Your clothes dryer is electric instead of natural gas. $4,000 for an electric load service center upgrade, $1,600 for insulation, air sealing and ventilation, $2,500 for electric wiring. So these rebates are not available to households earning over 150% of an area's median income. Consumers of income below 80% of area median income can claim a rebate for the full cost of their upgrades, which could be up to $14,000. So this could be pretty significant, and stay tuned when the states start rolling this out. I don't know how long it's going to take. Households that fall between 80% and 150% of the area median income are eligible for rebates of 50% of their costs, again, up to $14,000. You can't get both rebates. You can't get both of them. So, of course, take the one that gives you more. Now, the plan is that you're supposed to be able to get these rebates when you buy the appliances or the equipment or whatever. So details need to be worked out. This is in the legislation, but details need to be worked out. The states are going to put their programs together, and hopefully they do them efficiently. Now, earlier we talked about the home energy efficiency tax credits. So you could get both. So you get the credits in your tax return and the rebate. You can get both. So this could be quite a big deal for you. So here's some resources here you can look at there if you want to read more about the Inflation Reduction Act, which is HR 5376, which is the same bill number as the Build Back Better Act that was passed in 2021. Same bill number. Form 5695, residential energy credits. Form 8908, the energy efficient home credit. So good luck. And if you're going to make some improvements to your home, make sure you take advantage of the tax benefits that are available to you. And good luck. And thank you for coming today. If you have any questions, let me know. If you'd like to see other topics covered, let me know. I love doing this. So I'll see you again. And thank you for your time.